This is the last in the series I started a few weeks ago where I responded to a conversation between Muslims and ex-Muslims. In reality, it was a conversation between the deceitful and the ignorant. Here we'll be reacting to this prompt.
The consequences meted on apostates of Islam are justifiable.
Those who came up with this prompt need a dictionary to tell them the difference between consequences and punishment. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments, and without further ado, let's get into it. I'll be reacting mostly to someone on the panel whose penchant for deception is impressive.
When you're talking about the apostates law, as it applies to certain era of time, might be different from how it applies to another time. That's why in a lot of times we need to avoid what we call anachronism. That is, justifying the standards of past eras with the standard of the modern time.
Okay, anachronism, a chronological misplacement of persons, events, objects, or customs in regards to each other. It is also a synonym for presentism, a common historical fallacy that involves judging past events by present ideas or perspectives. A good example is claiming that a person in history was transgender as if they had bottom surgery and new pronouns. Now, how does any of this apply to apostasy law in Sharia? There is only one way to find out. Let Salman cook.
If it is on the grounds of the modern society we are now, you don't find certain well-educated Islamic societies now carrying out those.
I need Salman to define well-educated modern societies. He is using this phrase to describe a figment of his imagination. Last time he told us this.
And let's look at the countries that actually practice Sharia. I'm not talking about those countries that it depicts in movies. Go to Saudi Arabia, go to Dubai.
Going by that, in 2015, 2 men were sentenced to death in Saudi Arabia for apostasy. The UAE is yet to execute anyone for apostasy, but the country still has in its law the capital punishment for apostates. Already his argument is crumbling, but I still want to know how he connects apostasy law in Sharia with anachronism.
So this law is actually based on those who were Muslims at that era. They claim to be Muslims, but eventually they now left the cycle of Muslims to go and meet the idolaters then, to scheme on how to wipe out the entire Muslim village. Because of that reason, that was why they were killed at those era.
This is utter rubbish, complete nonsense, and a total disregard for the truth. There is nothing that supports this narrative. On the contrary, during Muhammad's time, a Jew in Yemen became a Muslim but later reverted to Judaism, and he was killed just for that. He wasn't a spy, he was simply an apostate, and that was the rule. Muhammad's words were clear: whoever changes his religion, kill him. There are only 3 reasons to kill a Muslim: when he's guilty of murder, commits adultery, or leaves Islam. This is repeated in no uncertain terms in the Hadiths. Here are 2 instances of how apostates were killed during the era of the bloodthirsty, rightly guided caliphs of Islam. In Banu Hajjiyah, the Muslim army encountered some people who left Christianity for Islam and then went back to Christianity because they were convinced that Christianity, which they had first left, was better and more correct. Their issue with Islam was its non-stop shedding of blood and seizing of properties. For that reason, Ali ordered that these men be killed and their dependents be made captives. The next example is a man named Al-Rumahis bin Mansur, and these were his words: "By God, the only error I have made since attaining reason was abandoning my religion, the religion of truth, for yours, the religion of wickedness." He was given the chance to return back to what he saw as the religion of wickedness, and he refused, and that was why he was beheaded. Let that sink in. This is apostasy in Sharia as practiced in the 7th century by the rightly guarded caliphs a few years after Muhammad's death. See, these rightly guarded caliphs were close friends of Muhammad. Ali was Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law. If anyone understood Islam very well, it was them and their generation. Muhammad called their generation the best in Islam, and killing non-combatant Christians was how they enforced Sharia. This reality makes Salman's claim not just a mere misrepresentation but an egregious lie, especially when he said this:
even if you're going to leave Islam, not that you now go and meet the idolater and be like, let us go and kill the men, they are always in certain places, then we'll now take their women, them, and do whatever we want to do and go.
Salman, the spirit that possessed your prophet has possessed you, and that's what 1 Kings 22 verse 22 calls a lying spirit. And I am not surprised. You worship a God who calls himself the best of deceivers. That's one of Allah's 99 names. He's manifesting himself through you. This is what I keep telling moderate Muslims: you will reflect the God you worship. When you declare the Shahada, you submit to the same wicked spirit that drove Muhammad to penetrate a child sexually. See, this deserves a harsh tone because Salman's lies are an act of wickedness. It is wicked to lie about victims of wickedness and call them evil spies who facilitated the raping of women, when in reality, it is your religion that permits the raping of female captives. Your prophet was as cruel as Adolf Hitler. That genocidal maniac attacked the Jewish community and killed every male who had as much as a strand of pubic hair. But apostates of Islam during his time were the bad guys, right? But please, go ahead and finish your case for anachronism.
I am yet to see any verse in the Quran that mentions that if somebody says he's not a Muslim, go and kill the person.
Okay, can someone tell me where the Quran states that you must fast 30 or 29 days during Ramadan? Where does the Quran say that the sacred mosque is the Kaaba in Mecca? Earlier in this conversation, Salman said this.
Applying the punishment of fire on a person is actually haram.
Where does it say in the Quran that burning people to death is haram? He got that from the Hadith, not the Quran. But of course, when it comes to acts of barbarism that he's not proud of, he's quick to throw the Hadiths under the bus. But even the Quran instructs him to obey Allah and Muhammad. That's what it means to be a Muslim. You submit to Allah's commands in the Quran and Muhammad's commands in the Hadiths, especially the credible ones. And the command to kill apostates is stated repeatedly in credible Hadiths, which you must follow as a good Muslim. But in all of Salman's lies, I think this one takes the cake.
On the issue of, what do you call it, honor killing or something, I don't know. I've never in my life heard of that thing before. And it is, I've never heard of it before. I'm being sincere, honestly.
Even gullible Salama found this one hard to believe. I mean, Ali narrated Muhammad saying that in the last days, foolish Muslims will leave Islam and their punishment is death. Those who kill them get rewarded on Judgment Day. This means a couple of things. First, this command applies to the last days, not just the early years of Islam. Second, anyone can carry out this punishment. If you want to get a reward on Judgment Day, go out and kill an apostate. How much more if that apostate is in your family? Also, it is a unanimous view amongst Islamic scholars that blood retaliation doesn't apply to a parent who kills their child. So in a Sharia-compliant utopia, if a parent kills their apostate child, they face no legal punishment whatsoever. Rather, on Judgment Day, those parents should expect a beautiful reward from Allah the Merciful and Compassionate. Salman's lies can be annoying, okay? But our Muslim feminist provides us with much-needed comic relief.
The same way you're justifying the fact that it was justifiable back then is the same way certain people would perform this same act and claim it under the religion, and it would make perfect sense to them. Are you joking? Are you going to tell me now that those people that justified this back then, if they were here today, and they killed somebody in the name of protecting the religion as it is happening now, are you going to tell me that if I stand to them and tell them it's not justifiable, they would tell me I'm right?
This is what it means to have no sense of irony. She's passionately opposed to everything her religion teaches, yet somehow she fails to realize that in principle she's not a Muslim. She believes in religious pluralism.
So we can't decide what's right and what's wrong.
She thinks Sharia isn't about justice but oppression. Here she holds that apostasy laws, even when done by Muhammad, aren't justifiable.
If you're preaching about peace, you should let God do his will. You cannot take justice for God and you cannot act as God.
For sure, she's a Muslim and a feminist.
I'm Salama, a Muslim and a feminist.
But to add to your point, it makes me just realize something. So people probably even stayed in Islam due to fear of them being killed.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. There is no religious freedom under Sharia. I can list countless examples of people who have been killed in the past 10 years because they left Islam.
Because people like you, little weaklings who leave their religion, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that.
And in case you didn't hear him the first time, he spoke about it again.
Alhamdulillah, in Islam, there is that capital punishment. We are proud of that. Alhamdulillah. People are coming to Islam because of its intolerance.
Yes, the strength of Islam is intolerance, and that's why I can't judge some Muslims. Living Islam isn't an easy decision. It takes courage and deep conviction. That's especially the case for those living in Muslim-majority countries. The persecution and possibility of death are real. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage Christians to pray for Muslims living in these areas. They need your prayers. Many of them know that Islam is false, but they need the grace of God to pull them out of the darkness of their society. My response to the last prompt will be in a live stream, and you don't want to miss it, okay? It will be a blast. You can ask me questions there and interact with me live. So behead the subscribe button and that notification bell. And please, show no mercy to the like button. Until we meet live, enjoy this video here where I explain the beauty of Sharia.